To speak a little bit about familiar spirits and their role in destroying your life. Now, familiar spirits and witchcraft, they go together. They are buddies. They're twins. They work together. So familiar spirits, you might think that they are just some spirits that are just attacking you all of a sudden out of nowhere. No, these are spirits that have been operating in your life, in your lineage, for a long time. In other words, familiar spirits, they know you more than you know yourself. And witchcraft, witches, warlocks, wizards, you call them whatever you want to call them, they use familiar spirits to destroy your life. Because even when they are going to get readings for your life, the information that they are getting is coming from familiar spirits. These are the spirits that put thoughts in your head, and these are the spirits that knows your patterns, that knows your thinking, the way you think. They don't see into your mind, into your thoughts, but they know how you think. They've studied you. Okay. And so witchcraft and familiar spirits, they work together. And they come in different forms. And the one that I want to speak about today, it is the masquerading form of a familiar spirit. Okay. They can masquerade as dead relatives. So you remember those times that you were waking up saying, oh, my mother visited me in my dream. Oh, my mother was giving me this. Oh, my mother was signing with me this paper in my dreams. That wasn't your mother. That was a familiar spirit. Okay. So for a familiar spirit to be able to operate in your life, there has to be an altar of some kind. And we know that is not a godly altar. That is an altar of wickedness. Usually, it runs in a family line, because these familiar spirits, they know all of you, and they know all of you. They know what triggers you. They know your wounds. They know everything. So what they do, they use that information against you. My encounter with familiar spirits, now I'm not speaking about the fruit of their wickedness that they do, they plant, they sow in your life, but my encounter that I had with familiar spirit for the first time in the dreams, when I came to know what these were, it was in the dreams. But if I was aware then, I would know them, because I would see by the thoughts that I was having. But that time I wasn't operating in capturing my thoughts and asking, questioning thoughts. What is this thought? What is it? And pulling them down. I wasn't doing that at that time. But they showed up in my dreams. So I would have series of dreams where I would see my dead relatives. The spirit of death through familiar spirits coming into my dreams. The spirit of the graveyard. Now, if you remember, I released a video previously that spoke about, where I spoke about a family member, my family member, who was putting ashes of the graveyard at my forehead in a dream. Okay, so this is exactly the altar of those familiar spirits. Now you're having series of dead relative dreams, and you are not understanding why. And these dreams can be tormenting sometimes, because it is also the goal of familiar spirits and witchcraft spirits to torment you. So these dead relative dreams, they are here to bring death, to bring confusion, to attack your mind. You being so confused, and to stagnate everything in your life. Remember, this is the spirit of the graveyard, and there is nothing good that happens at the graveyard. Okay? So in my dreams, they would come as dead relatives. And I would challenge them in some cases, not all cases. In some cases, I would challenge them. And when I do challenge them, they will either run away from me, or they will reduce to black ash, to show that this is not that person, that dead relative that has just visited me. It was a familiar spirit that wanted to use that dead relatives to forge some kind of an agreement, to deceive, to steal, to kill, and to destroy, basically, using a dead relative face. Now, I'm not saying that when you see dead relatives in your dreams, they are just familiar spirits. They could be dead human spirits. It could be anything, but in my case, on some cases, not on all, they were familiar spirits masquerading. So masquerading spirits, they will take not just the faces of dead relatives, they will also take the faces of relatives or friends or anybody who is alive. So if you don't know you are having those dreams, and you don't know, you will wake up and have a fallout with everybody, because you are thinking, oh, I've seen you in my dreams. This requires discernment, my friends. Otherwise, you won't know. Remember, they are crafty. They are familiar. They know you more than you know yourself. So even if they come as masquerades, like my relatives who are living, I would know that this is not my relative, and I would confront them. The same thing will happen. They will either run or reduce to black ash. This is why it is critical. You need to pray and ask God, God, what is this that I am seeing? Before you point a finger at anybody. And they can do this even with church people, by the way. This is not just the people, your relatives and all. Now you're starting to see all these members of the church, or some members of your church, doing wickedness because they want to sow confusion. But you need to discern which spirit is which. You won't know. And before you run with those messages, with those dreams or visions, you need to pray and ask God. You need to discern which one is this, which one is that. Because the enemy wants to confuse you, and he wants to keep you in that cycle of confusion. And if you're not seeing this, you will be all bitter at people and not knowing. Sometimes you see even pastors. It is up to God, up to you now to go and seek God for clarity and discernment. God, what is this? Why am I seeing this pastor this way? But if you are a person who is maybe interceding for people, for places, for nations, for stuff. It could be just a call to prayer for those people, okay, and not to cause some kind of chaos or confusion or further confusion, because this is what exactly these spirits are looking for. I'll give you an example. So a familiar spirit will show up in my dream as my uncle. My uncle, I've not seen my uncle for so many years. And this familiar spirit knows that I love these people. He knows that I love to hear from them. I love them. So it will wear exactly that face because of the condition of my heart towards those people. I wouldn't ignore them. I wouldn't, I would be just speaking with them. And what a familiar spirit is looking for is an agreement. So if it comes as my uncle want to hug me and kiss me, it shows you that this is where the agreement is coming into place. Want to eat food with me? These are all covenants that are being forged. And if you don't know, you just eat, you just be hugging those people and just giving them kisses, and you think you are just being a nice relative. But this is a demon, my friends. You need to call it out for what it is in those dreams. Somehow, I know that this is not this person, what this situation is going on. And then I confront it. But there are some times that I didn't confront them. I didn't know. This is when I say you need to pray for each and every dream that you get. Because these familiar spirits, they will cause a lot of division. They will cause a lot of strife. And they will certainly turn you against other people, including those in the church, if you don't know. And now you'll be calling everyone a witch because you don't know. That is why we have Jesus. That is why we have God, who can tell us and show us what is the truth. Okay? The Holy Spirit is the Spirit of truth. And God will not allow you to be just being pulled all over the place by familiar spirits without telling you what is happening. He will protect you. You put all your trust in Jesus Christ. He is the only one who can deliver you from familiar spirits. Now, I have had this experience with those masquerading familiar spirits, and I have had experience with shape-shifting familiar spirits. So they can literally change into a pillow, or they can change into they can take a shape of anything. So I've had those as well. And now, how is this connected with witchcraft? These familiar spirits, they are not coming to attack you on their own. There has to be an altar. They go from an altar. And that witchcraft altar, it is the point, it's their headquarters. That is where all the things are happening. The curses are being spoken. The hexes, the spells, the incantations, they are being spoken at that altar. That will release those spirits now to come to destroy your life. And if you don't know it, you will just be dismissing it, saying that was just a dream, that was just a vision. But what is it exactly you are seeing? Now, my experience is, if you ask God, He will always tell you, He will show you. and he will show you what is actually happening. And when I'm speaking about this in these videos, it is to give you knowledge that these things are real and these things exist, so that you are not stuck in ignorance. But this is not to bring any type of fear. I want to make that clear to you today, that God has not given you a spirit of fear. And we hear throughout the Bible, fear not, fear not. Okay? God is in charge, not a familiar spirit. They are doing their wickedness, but against you, child of God, that wickedness will not prosper. And the Bible tells us this, that weapons will be formed, but they will not prosper. God says they will come against you, but not at my doing. Those who come against you, they will fall for your sake. Okay? I hope this has encouraged you. Challenge those familiar spirits in dreams. Pray before you release any type of dream to the world, or you take it as your truth. Pray and ask God, what is this? Be encouraged. Stay blessed. Be blessed. Shalom, shalom.